And let's discuss this further with our guest who's joining us here on the broadcast. We're now being joined by Dr. Charles Kupchan. He's a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. Dr. Kupchan, thanks so much for making time for us and joining us here on the broadcast. Let's get right into it. Susan mentioned something very important, that if Zelensky is not willing to make any kind of concessions, why is he on his way to the US? It makes one thing very clear, that all these European leaders coming at once within a day of that Alaska summit, it clearly means Europe and Ukraine, as expected, have not slept well since those developments came out after the Alaska summit. As of now, what do you expect from this meeting and from the regarding concessions as well?
No question that Europeans and Zelensky himself are very anxious about what took place in Alaska and the terms of the deal that today we're hearing more and more about. You know, I think that there are several key issues that are going to be under discussion. One of them you just mentioned, and that is Zelensky going to be willing to cede the 30% of Donetsk Oblast that Russia wants, but that Ukraine still controls? Will Putin agree to allow the Ukraine that exists on the other side of that ceasefire line, which is now about 80% of the country, to be a free, independent, and secure country with security guarantees provided by some coalition of the willing? What do those security guarantees look like, and will they be credible? And I think the nub of the issue is the following. No question that Zelensky does not want to give up any more land. Many, many tens of thousands of Ukrainians have died to protect those portions of Donbass that Putin is asking for. But if Zelensky has reason to believe that this war will end in a durable way, then it is possible that he may say, okay, I don't like this, but I'm going to let this land swap take place in the service of bringing the death and destruction to an end. Will he go down that road? Let's see tomorrow.
We'll need to wait.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because now we're also looking at, last time Zelensky was there, he was alone. Now he has a whole party of European leaders. It would have been a G7 summit if not for Finnish present at that point. So according to you, how is the European leaders are going to, what kind of role are they going to be playing here? Especially regarding the security guarantees in NATO.
You know, I think everybody remembers with a certain amount of horror the meeting that took place several months ago when Trump threw Zelensky out of the Oval Office and then stopped the flow of intelligence and military assistance. And so I think these, the Europeans are coming to say, we have Zelensky's back, we're with Zelensky, don't make a deal over his head. If Zelensky doesn't say yes, you have no deal. And remember, Mr. Trump, a bad deal is worse than no deal. It's a unified voice coming from Europeans. This is extraordinary. 7 different leaders are coming to participate and to back Zelensky. And I think the bottom line is here that they don't know what to expect from Trump. He changes his mind every 15 minutes. They thought that he had ended up in a good place, that he was ready to impose sanctions on Russia, that he was ready to approve the flow of military assistance to Ukraine. And then all of a sudden he announces a meeting face-to-face on American soil with the Russian president. And so they don't know what Trump is going to say in the next 15 minutes. And as a consequence, they want to be there to make clear what their position is on this critical issue for European security.
And Dr. Kupchan, very quickly, I also want to get your thoughts on this. Till now, NATO was off the table. We heard that enough number of times, but now it's been made clear from the US president that Crimea is also off the table because that is something, Crimea is one region that Ukraine has been fighting for continuously all through these last 10 years, I would say, or 2014 since then. But at this point, do you feel that's also a hint into what to expect regarding the land concessions, which Putin kind of hinted at? He said our root causes need to be addressed. So Putin is right where he was at 2022. Trump is now suggesting Crimea is also off the table. And it's almost an emergency meeting with all these European leaders reaching. This is unprecedented. It's extraordinary, as you said as well. Is this heading in that direction, that land concessions is the only way?
I think that Trump in some ways is just being realistic. Are the Ukrainians going to be able to take back Crimea by force? No. Are they going to be able to expel the Russians from Donbass? No. So let's just admit it, try to end the war, and make sure that the Ukraine that's on the other side of the ceasefire line is a secure, sovereign republic that is able to make its own decisions about the future. And Zelensky's willingness to say yes to the deal depends a lot on the guarantees that emerge to provide Ukraine security, because Zelensky's never going to trust Putin, even if Putin signs something that says, I won't attack you again. And so let's pay a lot of attention to the nature of those guarantees. It's not NATO, but it's going to be something else. We need more clarity on what that something else is before we can say this is a good deal or this is a bad deal.
And the world is seeming to now inch towards accepting that reality, that perhaps that's going to be the only way to end this war. Getting Russia, a powerhouse like Russia, out by force doesn't really seem to be the option that at least Ukraine has at this point. And also along with that, the Alaska summit came out of nowhere for the European leaders. Putin comes in at the end and says, let's have the follow-up meeting in Moscow, and you have all the European leaders rushing to Washington within a day's time. Clearly, Europe is not at peace at this point. Let's just leave it at that, and we'll wait to watch.
I would say a certain level of panic would be the right word.
I think that's the right word as well. Dr. Kupchan, thanks so much for joining us and, using the right terminology, I would say. Panic is the word we should be using for the European leaders.
Yes.
Dr. Kupchan, always a pleasure speaking with you, and there will be lots more to discuss. Would love to have you on World DN again.
Good to be with you. Bye-bye.
Yes.